Everybody wants to be remembered for something. One small sentence in their obituary that outlines everything they ever did and whatever everyone around them just remembers them for. Maybe they were highly successful in their careers, or if money wasn't their main motivator in life, maybe they were remembered for something like feeding at least 1,000 homeless people every year. Nobody really wants to be remembered as some boring, nerdy, lonely loser who did nothing and was known by nobody. However, for abject failures who have no skills, no family, no friends, and no charisma, there is one way to be remembered for something that's probably a little bit cooler than, being a total nobody. And that thing that they can do is shoot up a random place. That way, they can be remembered as somebody who was infamous or dangerous or edgy, rather than just some total dork. Or at least that used to be the case until maybe 5 years ago. Now that the typical school shooter meme has pretty much been created, being known as a mass shooter definitely is not as cool as it once was. Now, thanks to memes, pretty much everybody knows school shooters or any type of mass shooter as some attention-seeking nobody and a total piece of shit with no redeeming qualities other than just being a raging narcissist. Even if they manage to kill a lot of people, the whole mystique around the mysterious mass murder is pretty much gone. The golden age of mass shooters is thankfully over. There's also another reason why mass shooters aren't nearly as cool as they once were. Journalists have become far more clued in to people's social media and criminal records than they previously have been. It's much easier to get that information now. If you ever get captured and you get sent off to court, your browser history is going to be read aloud for everyone to know. Remember the guy who recently got sentenced life in prison for shooting up that high school in Florida? Well, it was found that he searched up Little Teen Piern, read aloud in court. He was on center stage and he bombed in 2 different ways before he even showed up. It's bad enough to have Little Teen in your search history, but to also spell porn incorrectly, well, that, coupled with your psychological report showing that you have a below average IQ, being publicly shared to everyone in the courtroom and all journalists who are covering the story. If you're a total nobody and you're listening to this, take some advice from me. Don't shoot up anything. Your Google searches will become public knowledge. I would also say that don't kill anyone because people have lives and they don't need their lives ended by you. But if you're considering shooting up a place, I think you're well past the point of empathy for anyone. Oh, and what about that one Walmart night shift manager that shot up everyone in the break room? He thought he covered pretty much everything in his little manifesto / confession note. He mentioned he had social difficulties, was pretty much an incel, but one important thing he left out on purpose is the fact that 1 or 2 weeks before he shot up the break room, he left his phone in the break room unlocked and somebody got into it and discovered his sacred lolly stash. I would say sorry, man, for revealing that to anyone who's listening to this, but you're dead now and you killed a bunch of people, so you had very unsavory and very unchristian-like pictures of lollies on your phone. And also get wrecked. But now on to my main story of why mass shootings aren't cool anymore. So just before November 20th, 2022, a guy armed with an AR-15, a pistol, and dressed to the hilt in full body armor, stormed into a gay bar in Colorado Springs, Colorado, killing 5 and injuring 19. The body count of a shooting could have easily been as high, if not higher, actually maybe, probably not, because we'll talk about the shooter a bit more, but it would have been greater than, say, 5 people. But since everyone's figured out that mass shooters are always untrained idiots, an army veteran who was at the nightclub with his daughter and her boyfriend somehow managed to to steal the pistol off the shooter and tackle him to the ground. A Navy officer also managed to take the rifle away from the gunman. This all but confirms the hypothesis that if you don't have a gun, you can't shoot anyone. All of that ammo, all of that body armor, and that pistol, all for nothing except getting your ass tackled and beat, and getting your face stomped in just in time for your mugshot. I'm not going to mention the guy's legal name because he changed it when he was a teenager, because he had to abandon his identity because he was picked on for being an absolute shithead. So I'm just going to call him by his birth name, Nick. Now with Nick, the hopeful, brave, patriotic 300-pound American warrior who wanted to restore America back to its true Christian Union stomping origins, a time when ravenous diseases and gay people never existed, his plan to become the next great American anti-hero was quickly stomped out when he found out the hard way that gay men are just men who are gay, and any physically fit man can easily take down a 300-pound patriotic warrior. And he's also found out the hard way that when people start researching about, mass killers and their lives before they did the shooting, their previous criminal records will be pretty much exposed to the public, as well as his family and just who his family members were. Try as he might, he couldn't escape his past, because when he changed his name, he bomb-threatened his own mum. Not only that, but Jeff Bezos double-cucked him, because the doorbell from Amazon caught the whole thing on video, and when the shooting happened, the police just released it. His mum also had a security camera installed in the living room, which also captured everything. The police shared that too. Both the security camera and the Jeff Bezos doorbell overhear his anime villain monologues to his mum. He's overheard talking to his mum about how this is his last stand and he's going to go out with a bang. He probably didn't even have a bomb in the first place. I doubt he'd even know how to make one. This was most likely a suicide by cop attempt, but he eventually gave up. You'd think he would have learned after his encounter with the police that the police are generally not to be fucked with. If you have a competent police department, that is. But no, he gave his showdown with the police one more shot, and spoiler alert, he went to a gay bar with a rifle and a pistol and tried to start a fight, and lost. And what about his mother? Surely after her own son tried to blow her up, would she maybe kick him out, or at least try and take his guns away? Well, no, because like her son, she too is a patriotic freedom warrior. Her son is her special little boy, and he shouldn't have his guns taken away, even if he tried to blow her up, because he's her special little guy, and he definitely won't try and do it again. I don't want to get sidetracked for too much longer here, but the gunman's mother, her grandfather was the former mayor of a small city in California, a city that was generously given a moniker which had the word Klan in front of it. It was well known as a racist city, and that city also had its own mass shooting done by a troubled young man with guns that were completely unregistered and had the serial numbers filed off. Yeah, and he also likened the January 6th insurrection, that one time when a bunch of Trump supporters tried to storm their way into the Capitol just as Donald Trump was about to leave office and try to overthrow the results of the election. He publicly proclaimed that he likened it to the American Revolutionary War, when American citizens successfully fought off a British invasion, as a one true stand for democracy, because nothing says democracy more than overturning the results of a democratic election by force to get someone else who was unelected into power. That was the gunman's grandfather. And the gunman's mother, on Facebook, publicly supported him and his words with like 2 or 3 Facebook posts. So that's the kind of environment the gunman grew up in. An environment where they are right about everything, and anyone who was not like them is a paid actor hired by George Soros to kill every white, Christian, Republican voting American. I'm starting to get more of this Americanized bullshit over here in Australia. There's Australians now calling themselves patriotic, and other American political buzzwords like freedom fighter and what have you. And a lot more religious fanaticals in Australia are also starting to come out of the woodworks. Look, that's America's thing, it's not our thing. Shut the fuck up. I hope your shitbox Commodore gets stolen and is found abandoned on a primary school parking lot, on fire, and has its Holden badge ripped off, and has a Chevy logo glued to it in its place. And I hope that's also on fire too. Okay, back to the guy who brought a pistol and a rifle to a bar fight and lost. He's now being charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, and a lot more than 5 charges of attempted first-degree murder. Actually, enough about him. I just want to finish this video by giving an honourable shout out to the 2 guys who actually stole the gun off the gunman and tackled him to the ground. The first guy I want to mention is 45-year-old Richard Fierro. He spent around 15 years in the United States Army and left around 10 years ago. You don't get to stay 15 years in the military and achieve the rank of major if they didn't like you. He was at the club with his daughter and her boyfriend. When he first heard shots being fired, he said that instinct took over. People can mistake the sound of gunshots for like fireworks or a car backing up, or like something falling down. But not Mr. Fierro. He spent 15 years in a career that imports more guns than pretty much any organisation in the whole damn world. So when he heard the shots, he just tackled the gunman. Now as far as self-defence goes, training matters. Actual professional training matters. An unarmed but properly trained person will outperform a guy. An unarmed but properly trained person will always outperform an untrained idiot with a deadly weapon. When Fierro tackled the gunman and brought him to the ground, he took out the gunman's pistol and pistol whipped him in the back of the head with it. Fierro said that everyone in the nightclub experienced combat that day. Sure, a nightclub and an old brick house in the Afghan desert are 2 different things, but if both have a gunman ready to kill anyone inside them, they're both confined spaces with an active gunman inside them. Not a place you want to be in. Another person who stopped the shooter was also someone in the military, a petty officer, 2nd class, who I think is still doing active service. He was the guy who actually took the rifle away from the gunman. Again, if you've ever had proper training for combat, you should know that somebody can't shoot you if they don't have a gun on them. Now, he was unfortunately shot. However, he is in a stable condition and is currently in the hospital as of this recording. Unlike Fierro being gay himself, James actually had a couple words for the LGBT youth. To the youth, I say, be brave. Your family is out there. You are loved and valued. So when you come out of a closet, come out swinging. To any LGBT people who are watching this video right now and haven't come out publicly, take this guy's advice. He's a Navy officer who helped stop a mass shooter. If there's anyone you should listen to, it's probably him. Man, Colorado Springs really has gone to shit ever since Lieutenant Joe Kender retired. If they couldn't stop a guy who threatened to blow up his own mum from obtaining a gun in the first place, legally, then who's going to stop him? I guess if red flag laws mean nothing to criminals, they probably mean nothing to proud, patriotic, 300-pound warriors who try to bomb their own mothers.